Hello, hello, welcome to the the masterclass EODF insight session. It's good to have you all as part of this session. Welcome, wherever you are from. It's good to join you and put your questions in the chat box, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. So this session is all about providing some insights for you from the field of learning of EODF Masterclass. What we're going to do is we're going to invite Carol Cleary from one of our alumni who has kind of gone through the Masterclass journey. Hello, Carol. Good to
Hi,
see you.
Shan.
How are
You
you?
too. Good, thank you. Very good.
Yeah. So welcome to the LinkedIn live session of the EODF Masterclass intro elements. What we would like to talk about is kind of get your insight, Carol, from the learnings that you've been through the Masterclass, EODF Masterclass. What are the things that you took away from those sessions? Because a lot of participants would love to hear from you, your experience, your takeaways, and how they could also be part of that journey of their learning journey, being involved in the organization design of the masterclass as well. So on that note, Carol, if you don't mind kind of doing a quick introduction about you, where you're from, which part of the world you're connecting and kind of talking to us, and also give us a kind of an view from when did you join the masterclass, how did you hear about the masterclass, and what are your kind of early initiation kind of takeaways from those masterclass. If I may hand over the floor to you, Carol.
Yeah, sure, Shan. Thanks very much. It's lovely to join you. I was going to say this morning. It's now this afternoon for us anyway. So my name is Carol Cleary. I am based in Ireland. So I am currently working for one of the large banks, AIB, in Ireland, based out of Dublin. And I have worked in HR kind of throughout my career over a number of different sectors and across a few different countries. And across a range of different areas across the years, performance management, talent management, different kind of areas of in centers of excellence. And I kind of always kept coming back to or dipping into org design over the years, even in kind of small ways. But really, in the last kind of 3 years, my role has become predominantly about organization design, and I've been working kind of on an internal basis within our organization, helping different areas and departments with organization and kind of transformation activities. So in terms of the EODF, I became involved as a member probably, could be 18 months, maybe 2 years ago, and really just enjoyed the different resources that were available within the EODF. There's a lot of events on, even Shan, you presented a great one on Monday about AI and org design. So there's an awful lot of activities that are on, which really interested me, and I've been gaining a lot from it, because I feel like it's a relatively small network in terms of organization design. So to have such a diverse group in the EODF is really helpful. And then I was kind of tuned into the master classes. I had seen a couple of them kind of being referred to in the EODF, and I signed up then for the one last July. So it was a series over a course of 3 weeks in July, with 3 modules in that period of time. So that's kind of, I guess, at a high level how I became involved and how I participated in the masterclass last year.
Great introduction about yourself and the kind of introduction where your journey started, Carol. So just to build on what you highlighted about the kind of the masterclass, the fast track that you joined in July, to give for the audience a kind of an overview of masterclass, we run 2 different programs, but it's the same content. There's no changes to the content, because there's a need for participants to not being able to attend the course in a kind of a 3 consecutive weeks, or they may want some time in between the learning, in between the learning modules, because they wanted to reflect and come back with for additional questions to the faculty members. So we run standard masterclass program which runs over 4 months. We still cover it across 24 hours of training modules, because it is mandatory for us as part of the ODC accreditation. So our courses are accredited by ODC. That means whoever attends the participation will be able to apply for the CODP certification. That's one of the items that CODP looks into it. The second masterclass is fast track, because a lot of people would love to learn in a part of the journey in a 3 weeks period, which what you've done, Carol. So the upcoming masterclass in June, the 6th to the 21st of June, is a 3 weeks fast track, which takes place from 1900 CT time to the 2300 CT time. The reason we kind of got that time slot allocated, because we wanted to provide opportunities for participants and colleagues and upcoming experts, and or even the experts, to join the masterclass to get the certification process as well. Therefore, we are inviting participants from US as well as from APAC region as well. So this masterclass covers all the regions. We also invites the European community as well. So therefore, there's no time restriction. So based on the locations, the countries you live in, they can attend and being part of that. So the fast track masterclass covers in 3 weeks, and it's worth noting it that the masterclass is not only just providing a journey for participants to take on that learning journey, but also provides a wide variety of conversations between the cohorts who are attending. Yeah, sorry, I've just been in a working room. It's gone off lights. It's classic as usual. I was
Yeah,
expecting
of
something to go
course.
out. Yeah, which is quite. So it's not only bringing kind of the wider perspective, the kind of the organization design aspect, but also we bring in hands-on experience, because as faculty members, we bring in our real life case studies, apply them, give it to the participants, and help them to learn that through. So if I may kind of ask you, Carol, part of your learning journey, you've been attended the last year July course. Could you just expand some of the things that you took away from those elements, likes of the case studies, likes of the cohorts interaction, and what was for you following those sessions, really?
Yeah, and I think you've touched on a number of the points there, Sean, and I'll just expand on them a little bit. I think, first of all, the faculty members. So we had 4 different faculty members, yourself included, for our masterclass last July. And even the faculty members were a mix in terms of their own experiences, be it in-house, be it more consulting type roles. And I think bringing that, live experience and years of experience kind of combined from the faculty members was just so useful, I think, in really bringing some of the theory to life in terms of what we were learning, with our pre-reading, in advance. There was a number of articles and things we would read kind of in between the weekly modules. But I think having that kind of leveraging that experience of the faculty members, I think was really, really beneficial. And even just, as simple as, I think at the end of each of our modules in July, you kind of had a 30-minute Q&A for us with the faculty members, that if you wanted to stay on, if you had any particular questions, and I think, be it something in your day-to-day that you wanted to specifically to ask about, or just reflections on what we had learned in that particular module, and just that insight and, I guess, access we had to the faculty members, I think was really, really beneficial. You mentioned the cohort group. I think, again, we had a real range in July of individuals across different sectors, different types of organizations, and again, kind of people working more on an internal kind of basis like myself, and then lots of people who are working in more consulting roles. And I think the discussion that was generated throughout the modules and the engagement that we had, it was a really engaged group. And I think that the setup of it, even though it was virtual, we got to know each other very quickly, I think, and establish that rapport, which I think was really, really helpful. And then just even the nature of how we worked through some of the activities in the module. So we had a lot of kind of breakout discussions where maybe we were working on case studies together. And I think it was just a really helpful building blocks, that the faculty members would often cover, maybe some of the approach or some of the methodology, but then we actually got in our groups to apply some of it and, come up with one of the things. One of the particular exercises that stands out for me was where we worked on coming up with some design principles as a group, and it was a really interesting experience and just really helped us to to just apply what we had learned in a more practical basis. So that was, I think, some of my immediate takeaways and things that I just found hugely beneficial from the modules.
Yeah, it's very good. Great points. A few points as you highlighted, Carol, there with the course. As a faculty member and with my other colleagues in the faculty as well, we also learn. I think it's also worth mentioning it that not only sharing our experience and knowledge, but we also learn through those masterclasses, because the participants bring different views, different the ways of working in your organization, because as we all know, organization design is not one way. You could perform the design in many ways, and selecting the right design option is the right way to help the organization thrive and operate operate to achieve their goals. So we also learn, I think it's, as faculty say, it's a kind of a two-way process as well. So kind of building on the cohorts element as well, as you'll kind of go through those processes, and I think you talked about building the knowledge and working some of the experience in the as part of the classroom exercise, like the design criteria and extra. What are the other things you felt that was something that sparked your ideas and think, oh, I might want to try this, or I might want to change the way I approach this? Could you kind of give a couple of examples where you sparked
Yeah.
your idea?
Sure thing. There was, there was something for me that really resonated with me, is around linking back any of the work that we're doing on org design to the strategy. And that was a real strong theme throughout the modules, and just something that I think sometimes we can lose sight of when we're in the middle of, maybe helping a leader or a team, with a transition and going through a change. But I think that was a kind of consistent theme. And even in some, we touched on the STAR model, as we were going throughout, but just constantly bringing it back to that and being really clear on that. That was for me probably a bit of a aha moment in some of the conversations that I have with leaders about how important that is, and being really clear on those elements before you then move into some of the design, because without that kind of North Star, you're not really clear on what you're designing
Correct.
for. So that was something for me that was a really important takeaway. And I think just there was a kind of an end-to-end approach that we went through, and probably all of us in the group reflected on, yeah, we're doing parts of that, I'm doing a bit of this, I'm doing a bit of that. But I think it was the end-to-end view of it, and to be able to stand back and say, okay, this is an approach, and we'll all have to tweak it. It's never going to be the same in any given project or piece of work that we're working through. But it just gives that kind of framework to say, right, this is some of the key elements that are really important, that are important to focus your time on. I think one of the things I always keep coming back to is, a lot of us, when we were talking and asking questions on the masterclass, a lot of our issues and challenges were very similar. Even if we worked in totally different sectors, internal, external, whatever it might be, we had a lot of the same challenges. And one of the things that always, kind of sticks with me is, you mentioned on the masterclass about going back to that scoping and contracting phase and how important that is at the outset. And even if, it would be a perfect world if we were designing and everything else stayed static and didn't change, but often that's not the case. And I think just, having that awareness to say, right, we might need to go back and recontract with the leader or whoever we're engaging with on a piece of work. And I think that for me was just another takeaway to say, it's okay to do that. And often it's the right thing to do that because it means you'll get to the right outcome. So those were a few things for me that have stuck with me and I've definitely applied since the masterclass.
That's great great to hear that the strategy to the contracting piece is very critical. We even my day-to-day engagement as well with my clients, I have to focus on those two elements to get the design activities underway, because if you don't have the right contract and right information and right stakeholders being identified early on, the designs are not going to come through as you would expect to deliver the strategy, really. So that, I think it's great to hear that you took over some of those elements and which are helping you to achieve the kind of apply them in your day-to-day work as well. For those who are listening on this channel with what Carol's sharing experience, if you have any questions for Carol or myself, please put on the chat, and we'll try and answer them as we kind of incorporate into that, really. So, Carol, just to kind of build on what you said, in our EODF masterclass, what we try to do is to provide the wider perspective. There are different ways of doing designs. And as you probably know, we part of the design elements we looked at. When did the old design start? We kind of went back to the 1800 and took it to back to the kind of what is in today's world and how designs are evolved, really. So organization design has multiple dimensions and multiple ways of approaching it. What we tend to do is outline in our course kind of the key 4 or 5 approaches, but we focus on one critical approach to utilize. That's J. Galbraith's STAR model, which we utilize to drive that. But you also touched on some of the kind of the phases or the kind of activities that need to be performed. So we have got a EODF standard framework from scoping, a plan, a diagnose, analysis, and then high-level design and operational design, and then doing the transition phase, and then doing the day-to-day. So we kind of take you the journey of that learning through those phases, and each of the phases we utilize the case study that the participants have brought in. So we also ask the participants to bring their own challenges or own case that they worked on or they're working on currently, which is a great opportunity for them to get the ideas from the cohorts, because they will have different perspective. And we also provide input from our faculty members' perspective, experience perspective. But the designs can't be done in 24 hours because it's a complex scenario. So on that note, if I may ask, what are the kind of the key elements that stood out for you, or what did you kind of learn throughout kind of challenging each of your cohorts in a part of a idea sharing, and how could you approach the design in different ways? And you talked about some of the challenges are almost the same, the sectors that wherever the sectors industry you work in. Could you just kind of expand on that, how that hands-on case study work helped to build your kind of the OD confidence, as well as take some of the takeaways that you could really share with the participants who are listening?
Yeah, sure thing, Shan. I think the case studies, I think I'm glad you mentioned them, because I think we had 3 or maybe 4 in our modules, and as you say, it was from the participants themselves that brought them, and a lot of them were live kind of projects maybe that they were working on that they wanted to discuss. And I think having that opportunity with a network of kind of peers in this space, is really helpful, I think, to just understand some of what they're going through, but then to actually work through some of the topics. And they were at different stages in terms of some of the projects, but we were able to take, as you say, the kind of approach, the EODF approach, and then apply some of this. And even some of it might have required going back a few steps in terms of where the case studies were actually at, but applying it. And I think it prompted probably more questions for us as a cohort than just kind of sitting back and maybe absorbing and hearing the approach, but actually then applying it in practice then probably generated far more questions for us. And I think that's the benefit of it, because it's this mix of kind of theoretical, the background and information and learning, but then actually learning to apply it and having that experience, that kind of hands-on experience of applying it. So I found that hugely beneficial. And I think that's probably something for me I've taken beyond the masterclass, just in terms of the importance of having a network in this space, because a lot of us, myself included, you're often working in isolation in this. And some of this, it's just as much as bouncing ideas off of another, colleague who works in this space, and, even just trying things out maybe and seeing, does this work? Does this fit? And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways for me is establishing a network now that you can have some of those conversations with, and you can have that experience. And, I think that there was another thing that one of the faculty members said, I can't remember if it was yourself or one of the others, but just about practicing, that we are, we all had some level of experience, various kind of levels of years of experience we've been working in this space, but then taking away the approach and then applying it and practicing it, and knowing that it will take some time to, maybe work in a different way to how you have been working before. But I think not being afraid to be open to trying those new ways of doing it, or taking a different approach, or helping to educate maybe the leaders and teams that you work with about trying it in this new way. And I think for me, one thing that I particularly enjoy in how I work today is that it is co-creation with the stakeholders and people that you're working with. And I think that that's really important, just from a buy-in and, acceptance perspective. And that was something that really came out in the masterclass in terms of the importance of that. And I think it's just something that's really helpful then to apply.
That's a great insight, and it kind of takes us segue into the kind of the question that's come from Saeed. It'll be helpful to know what participants learn in the diagnose and analysis phase. And I think you touch on the co-creation element. Organization design is not doing for someone the design and throwing it over the wall. It's about co-creating with the stakeholders, because whether you're an internal consultant or an external consultant, you got to bring the stakeholders in the journey as well. So as part of the diagnose work, we work with the, as a faculty member and as a industry consultant, I work with the kind of the leadership team to establish, what are their key objectives and goals, where they want to achieve, what are their strategical outcomes they want to achieve, and then understanding how does the current operating model being there, how is it working, what are the challenges they are facing. It's through the lens of kind of the STAR model we tend to ask that. So it's all about helping participants ask the right question, because you may have the right, participants may have the right, if they're an internal consultant, they may have the insight, but the mindsets of the stakeholders operate in a different way. So therefore, asking the right questions and asking them to provide the better insight, and then co-creating what is need to be achieved, that is where the kind of the diagnosis and analysis comes into. Definitely you need to utilize the data that you have access to. Definitely you need to understand what are the people aspects, what are the structure looks like, where are the decisions are being made, what information is flowing through, how does the competencies be managed, and also what are the reward mechanism, and also behavioral performance elements, and also the cultural aspects. So it is good to part of those all those phases we touched on earlier. We cover
Mhm.
all these 5 dimensions of the star model, and stars are kind of the core framework to drive outcomes based designs, really. Um, one also want to highlight to the participants, after the training course is completed, we don't let the participants kind of get into the field. There will be a lot of questions for the participants. How can I apply this? I've got kind of, you told me about this to do it, but my stakeholder is not, forthcoming or helping me to achieve what is the right way to do it. So what we tend to do is we offer mentoring services for 6 months in a part of the course. That's a critical differentiator that we bring to the table. That we got about dozens of mentors who are well experienced in the field, and they also got a kind of worked with senior leaders. They've delivered designs, many different sector designs. So participants have the opportunity to select one of the mentors to help them achieve their goals and the outcomes that they want to set early on in the journey. So would you kind of highlight where did you start your mentoring services, and what are the benefits you're seeing through those services, if I may, Carol?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, Shan. And actually, I should have said at the outset when I was looking at the masterclass, that was one of the big differentiators for me in selecting the masterclass as opposed to another OG qualification from other institutions, because there is so much of this, as I said before, that point about practice. It's going away and applying it, and you'll have lots more questions after the event when you're with working with stakeholders, and that for me is something that's been really important. And um the mentoring bit for me, and you and I have had a number of discussions, Shan, on different things as well. It's just that ability to step back and have another perspective. I think that for me is such a critical thing, that when you're working on something and you're kind of in the middle of it, a fresh pair of eyes, and especially a more experienced pair of eyes, can be so beneficial to just have that. It provide you that bit of perspective, or just even another way of, have you tried this, and is this something you think might work with the group, and to just have those different ideas and the opportunity to bounce off with somebody else. And I think it just really helps to embed your learning, because I think you could go away and you could continue to read back on some of the articles and books and whatever, but we know every project and every piece of work is different. So I think just having that hands-on person that you have a relationship with as a mentor and that you can really leverage is a huge benefit. And I think it almost took away a little bit of the fear at the end of module 3, that you were going away and you were now expected to be an expert on it, knowing that you had that mentoring option that you could follow up with, and you had somebody else that you could check in with and be like, I'm trying to do this bit that we learned on the masterclass, but am I getting it right, or I'm running into roadblocks? So I think it's a huge benefit, I think, of what EODF offers.
Yeah. Thank you, Carol. On that note, our next upcoming masterclass starts on the 6th of June and runs up to the 21st of June. We got few seats left over. We got participants joining from Mexico and some of the European community participants as well. So we would love to have you, some of the listeners who would love to be part of that journey, buy the tickets and register yourself. Don't wait to the last minute, because we only got a few seats and we will be kind of selling it out soon. So it's important that avoid any kind of last minute challenges. So therefore, also, if you have any questions, do not afraid to email it to us at info@eodf.eu, and those questions will get filtered to me, and I'll be more than happy to have a one-to-one conversation with you to answer them as well. Um, on that note, I would like to say thank you, Carol, coming in, kind of sharing your experience, and I wish you best of luck in the future of your journey, expansion of the journey as well, and the experience. And we would love to hear more about it when we kind of meet in our next EODF conference, or even before that as well, Carol.
Super. Thanks, Shan. Thanks very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.